Hey, what is up guys, welcome back to another video, and in this video we're going to be continuing on with our UIKit tutorial series for iOS development, and in this particular tutorial we are going to be taking a look at the UIDatePicker in UIKit. Now, what is a UIDatePicker? Well, it's exactly what it sounds like. It is a control that allows you to select a date in your app. Now, the UIDatePicker doesn't just allow you to select dates. It also allows you to select times. You can create a countdown timer. You can select both dates and times, all that kind of stuff. We're not going to take a look at the countdown timer in this particular video, but we are going to take a look at how we can select dates, how we can select times, and how we can select both dates and times. And how we can run code when that value is changed using a value changed event. So let's go ahead and get started. So in Xcode, in your view controller, what we're going to do is we're going to create a UIDatePicker object. So we can say var, we'll call it dp equals a UIDatePicker. Now, I just want to pause here for a second and say that DP is not a proper name. Do not use names like this in actual apps. I'm just doing this for simplicity, so we can blaze through how we can actually use this. So you can, get to figuring out how to do other things on your own quicker. But again, do not use DP as an actual name for a variable in your real-world apps. It's not a good idea. All right. So now let's go ahead and go into the configure datePicker method that I have. All right, now inside of this method, we're going to do a little bit of configuration with our datePicker. We're going to leave the datePicker style as is. By default, the datePicker style is automatic, but you can change it if you would like to. You can do that by saying datePicker or whatever your name is for your object. In my case, it's DP dot preferred datePicker style, and you can set that equal to a few different things. Like I said, automatic is the default. You can set it to compact. You can set it to inline. Or you can set it to wheels. Now, if you're familiar with different pickers and other in other apps, you'll know what this looks like. It's kind of like a casino slot machine analogy in a way, so, where you have different wheels that you can spin to select the date components and stuff like that. So that's what that is. But we're going to leave it as automatic, so we don't need to define a value for this. But what we will do is we will set the datePicker mode. Now, the datePicker mode allows you to tell UIKit what kind of datePicker you want. Do you want one that only allows you to select a date? Do you want one that allows you to select just a time? Do you want one that allows you to select both a date and a time? Do you want to create a countdown timer? That kind of stuff. So how do we set that mode then? Well, to do that, we use the datePicker mode property. So dp.datePicker mode. And we can set that equal to something, right? So if you want to create a countdown timer, then do the countdown timer mode, but we're not going to do that. You can select date, date and time, time, year and month, and then that's pretty much it, right? Now, year and month is very specific because maybe you don't, well, it's not very specific in terms of like the accuracy of the date, but there are very specific circumstances where you might need that. So, for example, let's say you want to create an app where you ask the user for, for say, the month and year components of a date for when you started and ended a specific job or something like that. Month and year is perfect for that. We're going to say just date for now. All right. And there are a few other things that we can set, such as we can set the date that it starts with using the date property. That is also how we can retrieve the current selected date. All that kind of stuff, but we're going to leave that be for now. Let's also make sure that we're not translating auto resizing mask into constraints, so we can enable those programmatically. So dp translates auto resizing mask into constraints. We're pretty much almost 40 videos in. You should already know how this works. There we go. And now let's also add a target to this date picker, because remember in the beginning I said we're going to have a method that detects the value change event. Well, we need the target for that. So we can say dp.add target. We'll set nil for the target here. And then the action is going to be hashtag selector date changed. And then value changed. All right. So now that we have that, let's also make sure that our date picker is added to the view as a subview. So view, add, subview, DP. There we go. All right. Now, before we create the constraints, let's go ahead and create that value changed property. So we can say at objc private func date changed. And you could leave this blank and it would work fine, but we're going to give this a parameter for the current date UIDatePicker object whose value has changed. So we'll say object UIDatePicker. All right. And then there we go. We will populate this method in a second. All right. But for now, let's go ahead and set up our constraints. So ns layout constraint dot activate All right, so now that we have that, we can activate it, activate these specific constraints, and we'll say dp dot center x or center y anchor dot constraint is going to be equal to the views center y anchor. We'll say dp dot leading anchor dot constraint is going to be equal to the views leading anchor with a constant of 20. Let's see. Oh, wait. I did not spell that correctly. There we go, constant. All right, now we can say dp trailing anchor dot constraint is going to be equal to the views trailing anchor with a constant of -20, like that. All right, so now that we have that all squared away, let's create a date formatter that we can use to format our date. All right, so what we can do is we can say let formatter date formatter equals okay. All right, so in here we'll say let formatter equals date formatter dot date style equals full formatter time style equals none. Formatter dot, let's see. Okay, I think we should be fine with configuring the date formatter then. Return formatter, like that. All right, cool. So now let's go ahead and let's create a string inside of our date changed method. We'll say let date string equals formatter dot string from date, and we'll say object dot date. All right. Then we'll go ahead and print the changes to the console. All right, there we go. Now this is primarily because we do not have like a UI label or anything like that, and I don't want to spend any extra time putting one in. So we're just going to print it to the console and call it a day. So let's go ahead now and save our code. There. Let's try to build it. Okay, build succeeded. Now, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to change the run destination to the Mac just to make it a little bit easier on me. There we go, my Mac goes onto our iPad. Okay, there we go. Build succeeded. Now let it do its thing. All right, so here we are. Here's our date picker. So let's activate that. All right, so it looks like it's not wanting to do anything with VoiceOver. Let's try running it in the simulator. Maybe it'll work. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. Okay. Yes, I would like to replace that Xcode. Come on now. Let's go. All right, let's go ahead and now tap on that. All right, so now it brings up the date picker. Let's change the date to something like, let's say June 23rd. All right. And so there we go. Now, if we go ahead and go into Xcode again, and we go into our debug area, into our console, we can see Sunday, June 23rd, 2024. Precisely what we expected to happen. Now, so our value changed. This can be assigned to many date pickers. So if you have many date pickers, you can use this, and the specific date picker that's passed in will always be the one whose value changed, right? So you don't have to do any if checks or anything like that to determine which date picker it is, because you'll know it's the right date picker because it'll always be the one whose value changed. So you could obviously do some validation in that value changed if you need to. You can you can do all kinds of stuff in there. In this case, we just had it print to the console, but that is how that's the bare bones basics of how you can create a UI date picker inside of your iOS app. I want you to experiment with a UI date picker. Create a date picker that allows you to select a time. Create one that allows you to select a date and a time. Read the documentation for how to create a countdown timer. I urge you to experiment with this. That's kind of my challenge for you, is to go out and experiment with this particular view. And so that pretty much does it for this video, guys. Thank you all so very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.